In this city, it's always darkest until the dawn. In this city, there's a story behind every door. Because this city, home of Marlon Weiner, Private Dick. In tonight's episode, we find Marlon in his office, hard at work on his expense account and a bottle of cheap hooch.
It was late, and it was dark, because it was night. And the city was deader than Benito Mussolini after his appointment with 200 Italian sharpshooters. But it's my town, and as far as I'm concerned, there's no other town better than Sheboygan, Wisconsin.
Mr. Weiner.
And there's no other secretary better than Pinky Blutowski.
Mr. Weiner, you busy?
Only if you call juggling the books and a bottle of scotch at the same time busy. What are you doing here so late?
I was hoping to make a little extra money.
Well, just make sure all the men are gone before you lock up.
You have a visitor.
So, is this visitor of mine animal, vegetable, or mineral?
All three.
All three?
Yeah, she's wearing a fox around her neck and a diamond on her finger that must be a bunch of carrots. You get it?
I got it. Now, why don't you bring in the dame while I tidy up my office with a shovel and a flamethrower?
The animal is the fox and the vegetable is the carrots in the ring.
Well, one thing I always know about my clients, even before I meet them, is that they're in trouble. And their trouble is like ice cream. It comes in all kinds of flavors and can make your brain freeze if you don't handle it correctly. And what was I saying?
Excuse me, Mr. Weiner?
She had popped up behind me like a cop in a speed trap. She was in her 30s and pushing 40, hard enough to bruise it. Her lips were red and moist enough to bring a dessert back to life. She was wearing...
desert! Bring a desert back to life.
Hold on one sec.
I've always had trouble with that.
I believe Ray has been saved. Thank you. I'm glad you have the same problem.
I read it quickly.
Yeah, we're thrilled he read it quick. I'm glad he had the same problem. Let's go.
All right, we'll take it from that line. She had popped up behind me like a cop in a speed trap. She was in her 30s and pushing 40, hard enough to bruise it. Her lips were red and moist enough to bring a desert back to life. She was wearing a slack suit without much slack. You've seen bananas in looser skins.
When you finish taking inventory, you want to invite me in?
Inventory complete.
Mind if I sit on your desk?
You'll block the view.
You'll get used to the new one. Permit me to introduce myself. I'm Maddie Lafleur.
I'm the guy whose name is on the door.
Yes, an interesting name, Mr. Weiner. An even more interesting occupation, I imagine.
I'm a private dick. Oh, you can dress it up like bad store mannequin, but if you got yourself on the market, you can't waste time talking. And if you work real hard and study a little on the side, you've got a trade by the time you get to prison.
I have no idea what you just said, but you have a charming way of saying it. I have a proposition for you. Here.
Wow, that's a lot of dough.
It was my husband's dough. He was the best bread baker in the city, Larry Lafleur. And this dough was found beside him on the floor of the bakery when I found him last week.
So why are you coming to me? Is he still dead?
If not, he must be very uncomfortable in the cemetery. The police ruled his death a homicide, but I believe my husband was killed by his competitors. I want you to find the person who murdered him.
That'll take a lot of dough. Money.
Here.
Wow. Your husband must have left you a lot of bread to spend that kind of dough on me.
Find my husband's killer, and I'll make your dough rise.
She shimmied to the door like a mailbag full of puppies. When she left, I felt I just had a mud facial treatment. Dirty but good, all at the same time. The next day, I decided to wander over to the bunk bread manufacturing plant to see what they knew about the murder.
May I help you?
The secretary behind the desk had blonde hair and was kind of pretty, except you could see somebody had used her badly, like a dictionary in a stupid family.
Sir, you know I can hear what you talk about out loud like that.
Oh, sorry. I'm looking for Mr. Bunko.
Well, I'm afraid that the owner, Mr. Bunko, isn't available, and you don't look like you have an appointment with anybody but a barber, a dry cleaner, and a plastic surgeon.
Okay, what's going on here?
Well, if it isn't Paul Perkins, the chief of secretary at Bunko Bread.
Chief of security.
Oh, I missed that.
If it isn't, I'm getting somebody else's measly paycheck. Now, what's going on here?
This wise guy is trying to get up to see Mr. Bunko, and he doesn't have an appointment.
All right, I'll take care of this guy. Okay, buddy, come along with me.
But, Mr. Security Chief, I was only...
Shut up, you, and come with me. Now, don't say another word. Right around this corner here. Now then, tell me something. Will this get me out of that $20 I owe you?
It sure will, Perkins. How long have you been working in this private security detail?
Oh, ever since I retired from the police force.
Well, it's nice to have friends in high places.
And Mr. Bunko is pretty high up in this building. Come on, we'll have to take the elevator. Slide open the doors. I hope we make it. So, Marlon, who's paying you to investigate a big guy like Bunko?
The wife of Larry LaFleur.
LaFleur? The other bread manufacturer who killed himself?
His wife thinks it was murder.
And I'll bet she's a good-looking dame, too, isn't she?
A tall, blonde blister with lots of Fahrenheit.
I wish you'd forget about women.
And I wish you'd forget about whiskey.
Ah, yes, we both have our vices, except I enjoy one safeguard that you don't. At least I can look at the label and tell how old it is.
So, this is the penthouse, huh?
No, Marlon, you must be mistaken. I never took you up to the penthouse because I was never here.
I'd say goodbye and thanks, Perkins, but you were never here, which I guess means you still owe me that $20.
Why, you...
Don't get caught in the door, Perkins. The foyer of the penthouse was long as Grand Central Station and about as homey. When I turned the corner, I almost walked into an ugly thing. A 6-foot...
Thug, an ugly thug.
Ugly thug, you're absolutely right. I almost walked into an ugly... Either one. Ugly thug. A 6-foot, a million. This goon had hands like Christmas turkeys and a face like a bunch of bananas.
Marlon Weiner, the secretary called and warned me about you.
I was stunned for a moment that something so Cro-Magnon was actually able to form words. My right hand landed comfortably on my .38 snub nose resting invisibly in my coat pocket. It would only take me a moment to pull it out and surgically insert a hunk of lead between his two beady little eyes.
You know I can hear you when you talk out loud like that.
All right. Sorry. I hope you'll accept this apology. Go. This apology. Please accept this apology. Goon? There's an apology coming here in a moment here, Mr. Goon.
It has to be a gunshot first.
Yes, that's the apology we're waiting for.
Ooh! You shot me in my walnuts, Wiener.
Where?
I had some walnuts in my pocket, and you shot me in my walnuts. Oi!
With help from my .38, the big goon dropped faster than mercury in a blizzard. I opened the door to Bunko's office and was not too surprised to see Mr. Bunko kissing a woman I knew all too well.
And just who are you?
Wiener!
Please, darling, don't call me that in front of company.
No, it's Marlon Weiner, Private Dick.
And you're Maddie LaFleur, wife of the recently murdered Larry LaFleur.
See here, Weiner. Her husband committed suicide. It was all in the papers.
Yeah, Wiener. Our medical examiner certified that Larry LaFleur committed suicide.
Well, if it ain't Police Captain Capone.
The tenants downstairs heard the gunshot. We came as quick as we could.
Well, I'm glad you're here, Captain, because Larry LaFleur was murdered.
And who do you think murdered him?
I did. I killed my husband. I was trying to make it look like Bunko killed him.
Me?
That's why you left the dough at my office, so I'd have it analyzed because the police never did. That dough was from Bunko's bakery. It wasn't made by LaFleur flour.
I started an affair with Bunko so I could steal some of his dough and take it back to my husband's plant and smother him with it. I thought any fool could see he was murdered by suffocation.
Well, the police captain's not any fool.
But I thought any police department would analyze the dough and find out it was from Bunko's bakery.
Well, we've had cutbacks.
So, what did your medical examiner list as the cause of death?
Intentional overdose of bakery products by inhalation.
A reasonable assumption.
And when the police ruled it a suicide, I couldn't get my husband's insurance money. And I still had to keep fooling around with this idiot here to keep up appearances.
Is she talking about me?
So I hired Wiener to get the clues and finger Bunko.
You wanted him to put his finger where?
But Wiener somehow figured it all out. How did you figure it out?
Actually, I didn't figure it out. I really thought Bunko did it. That is, until you started confessing like that. I thought I'd get the police to arrest Bunko, and you and I would go off for a long weekend on Lake Michigan.
You didn't figure it out?
Not really, no.
Okay, well then, I guess you're under arrest, Ms. LaFleur.
You didn't figure it out? You were going to blame the murder on Bunko?
Take her away, man.
I hate you, Wiener.
I watched her as she turned and walked out the door with a nice friendly movement, like the trapdoor on a gallows.
I hate to interrupt you in the middle of a monologue, Wiener.
No, that's all right, Captain.
Thing is, we never read Mrs. LaFleur her rights, and she confessed. And we probably won't be able to use that confession in a court of law. So, the charges will probably be dismissed, and she'll probably get away with murder.
Well, it looks like I might be spending a long weekend on Lake Michigan after all.
Okay, men, let's get out of here.
Some days you hit a home run with a half swing, and other days fate spits in your eye, and fate spits in your eye, yes, and you try to retaliate, but the wind's always blowing in the wrong direction.
Mr. Wiener, would you mind leaving? We're getting ready to lock up for the night.
But at least I've got a reservation for a permanent post on the bar stool, looking for answers at the bottom of a whiskey bottle.
And as our hero spouts out yet another string of cliches that no one really understands, we bid farewell to Marlon Wiener, Private Dick.
Give him a nice round of applause.